Hello, today I would like to talk to you about articulation on the oboe. By articulation, I mean starting and stopping notes. When we're first taught to play, we're frequently told to take a breath, set our embouchure, put our tongue on the reed, blow, pull your tongue off the reed. What I often hear when people do that, though, is an unintentional accent that sounds like this. Now, aside from having a bad reed, the reasons for that could be that when you play the note, you don't follow through with your energy. So after the initial sound, you relax the air. Another possible reason is not thinking of where the phrases are going, so your air is again relaxed, but because of lack of thought in the phrase direction. And another possible reason is embouchure setup, that the aperture placement and the amount of air are not proper for the dynamic or register in which you're trying to play. So it's very important to have clear attacks in all registers. And in order to do that, I'm going to offer you a thought here about another technique to use to start notes. And I refer to this as the threshold of sound technique. So I'm going to put my finger here so you can see that over here. Let's say that this is almost no air, and I'm blowing upward, adding air as I start the note. So the note doesn't start until, let's say it start here. Let's get this in here. The note doesn't start till here. Then you hear it after that. So that would sound like this. Now you hear the little bit of air that happens before the note starts. Listen again. Okay, so I don't get the explosion because I'm continuing through the attack into a time past the initial sound. But I'm not going to play like that. I'm going to actually use my tongue for most instances, so it would sound like this. Now that avoids the unintentional accent entirely. So we have to be able to play in different registers. So let's say I was playing in the low register and I wanted to play, I'm playing in the orchestra and I have to play Don Juan and I have to come in on the low D. Well, sometimes you hear people play, especially less experienced players, and it sounds like this. The first note does. Now that sound where the tone breaks or it sounds like it wants to go up the octave is caused by overblowing. That means too much air for the size of the opening. So I think of blowing into it as a gradual way, and in this instance I'm going from a low D to an upper D, and so I try to blow in that direction. Do it again. Again, avoiding the unintentional accent. Now, if I were playing in the upper register, let's say I had to come in softly on a note. For example, that little spot from the Mozart Grand Partita. I use the same idea. I kind of breathe into it rather than starting the note with my tongue. Now, of course, I could start the note with the tongue. Okay, so the reason it works is because I'm in the right position for the register with the right aperture and the right amount of air. Now, one thing that we often don't consider is in terms of how these things function is accents. An accent is a dynamic change. So frequently when I ask people, how do you make an accent? I'm told, oh, we just hit the reed harder. Well, no, not really. It's actually dynamic change. So if I'm playing a few notes and I have to make an accent, I would open my embouchure and blow more air just like I would to play louder, because that's in essence what I'm doing. So you can hear that the accented note is actually, you could see my embouchure, okay? It's actually a result of the embouchure opening and more air at that moment. One observation I'd make is that I hear oftentimes people try to play accents and the note actually comes out softer. The reason for that is that they're blowing a lot more, but the embouchure aperture or reed aperture stays the same, and therefore you overblow the reed, it can't vibrate and sounds actually softer. One other small thing I would like to mention, which is not really so small, is the ends of notes. We always think of articulation in terms of beginning of notes, but there are 3 ways to end notes: embouchure, air, and tongue. I just use my embouchure to shut the opening. Air. All right, I stop the air, and tongue. Now they each sound different and they could be done separately, but they need sometimes to be done together in order to keep the pitch accurate. So pay attention to the ends of notes also. We often forget that, but that often gives us direction to the next note in terms of phrase. So if I'm playing Hide and Surprise Symphony, I was just blowing for each note, not really thinking about the end of the note. But suppose I needed something a little bit more incisive and directional. Now I'm stopping it with my tongue. So you can see there are many ways to do these things, and we need to practice all of them. I hope that this gives you some thoughts about articulation, and as always, I will see you again in another video with other information. Thank you.